IG pic, no filter. You could get the no filter. I'ma tell her how it is, no filter. Shorty, you the no filter. IG pic, no filter.
Denver, what's up? Denver, what's up? Welcome everybody. I know it's hot out here. I see everybody over in the bleachers in the shade. How are you doing? My name is Cameron Trimble, founder of Hip Politics. We're focused on mobilizing the political power of hip hop. We're going to activate 1 million hip hop fans to the polls this year. This is a full circle moment. We're about to bring one of the most legendary producers, artists, and a figure in the community. I also moderate the Hip Politics podcast where we interview candidates, elected officials, and artists. This is a full circle moment because the first ever interview I did 6 years ago in Washington, D.C. was with this gentleman right here. So without further ado, please give a round of applause for Mannie Fresh. 1 2 1 2.
How y'all doing? That boy said, what's happening? You heard me?
Mannie.
Yes, sir.
DJ Mannie Fresh, producer Mannie Fresh, artist Mannie Fresh, legend Mannie Fresh.
Yeah.
Man, I just, in front of all these folks, like I want to say, this is a full circle moment. You did the first podcast interview I did 6 years ago to now to be on this stage here in Denver at the Juneteenth Black Music Festival is a surreal moment. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. So
you've been a part of a lot of legendary moments in music, in the community. Get Your Roll On, #1 Stunner, Real Big. I mean, they just celebrated the Dream Big Awards, and they were playing the music, so the Real Big, but because there are kids here, so I'll say back that thing up.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the most legendary. It's like going to church sometimes when that drops. And I know you've been all over the world and seen a lot of different types of crowds and people, and when them opening notes come on. But I'm curious, something you've seen that even maybe surprised you when you dropped that song, whether you were DJing or performing. What was one of the craziest times you've seen when that song came on?
Most, I guess, real spot, Africa.
Ooh,
you know, I mean, you know, I played festival in Africa, you know, and I was just trying to figure out, like, what should I play? Should I do some history on some African music? You know, like what's popping right now? And, you know, my guy was just like, hey, bro, just stick to your roots. Do you? You know, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start out with Back That Thing Up. And, you know, and to see, like, you know, that in a response, you know, somewhere else out of the country, Africa of all places, it'd be like, we know this word for word. We was waiting for it. So, yeah.
And it shut it down?
Yes.
It shut it down?
After that, you know, it was just like, my confidence went through the roof. You know, I turned around, bragged a little bit. I'm like, who gonna go after me?
Well, Mannie, you've been a pillar of the community, the music community, black community, and I know you do a lot in your hometown in New Orleans, in your local community there. And I would argue that no more important than the impact you've had on the South and the impact you've had in New Orleans. Especially, I've seen so many different things online and so forth you've done post-Katrina to help rebuild the city. People always ask you about the music, and that's why I wanted to kick this off with that. But you do a lot of stuff in the community and been involved in some major projects. But I don't think people get to hear about that type of stuff as much.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like one of those things where you just do, you know? And the reason why mine, and it's just me, you know, some people could do it that way. It's not publicized because I'm not doing it to be publicized. It comes from the heart. You know, New Orleans is my home, and a lot of places where I go, you know, I can see a situation where I can help, I'm a help. You know, and I feel like that's where my blessings come from. You know, when you help 1 or 2 more people, you got 5 or 6 more blessings behind that. So if I can help, I'm a help.
Oh, we appreciate that. Appreciate that. Like I said, we're here at the Juneteenth Festival. We're celebrating the impact of music and black music has had. This is also, June is Black Music Month for those that don't know. So if you weren't already playing black music, make sure you stream all month, especially some of these Mannie Fresh hits. But I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on how music and the art of hip hop can continue to affect our culture and move forward? We've seen how it is woven into everything we've been doing here. In all these Juneteenth celebrations have been centered, a lot of them have been centered around the music. But I'm curious about your thoughts on how hip hop specifically can continue to push our culture forward.
First things first, this is crazy to say, but it's very, very true. Don't let music raise your children. You raise your children. Do not let music raise your children. You raise your children. And because for a lot of us, music was a parent, and hip hop is that. Good, bad, ugly. And sometimes, like right now, we got a lot of young minds and they being shaped by hip hop. They're being shaped by music because there isn't a presence. And the only thing they know is that music. And the music is making them, I could just say it, crazy. Because they don't have nobody to step in and say, that's just a song. You don't know, you can't decipher that. That's just music. So I would say to anybody that's a parent, that's a grandmother right now, my story would have been different 10 years from now, but times have changed. You got to step in and don't let music, don't let that be the parent. You be the parent. Because music, especially hip-hop music, our kids love it. They grow up on it. We grew up on it. But we knew how to tell what was the difference. We know how to say, like, okay, that was a song. I could go back to regular living. I could go back to life. There's a disconnect right now that kids are really imitating music. So as hip-hop artists, too, some of it is on us. We got to make better music, too. We got to make better songs. Because what's going on right now, I did party songs, but in my generation, you had 7 things that you could listen to. You had a pro-black rapper, you had a storyteller, you had gangster rap, you had all of that. And all of that played. Now, what's being pushed on kids right now is just garbage. That's what's being pushed on.
We got to make sure we raise our kids. As much as music, I would always say, like, it can augment, but it can also teach them the wrong thing. So
yes.
They need that discernment. But this is an election year, and I would argue that music and especially hip hop has been consistently used and put front and forward in a few different ways. Like sometimes it's as simple as the walkout music for a candidate, but sometimes it's galvanizing when you talk about the Be All Rights by Kendrick Lamar or the Bigger Pictures by the Little Babies of the world. And that's not to get too political on who you're voting for or not voting for or that, but we do understand that hip-hop is going to play a major role this year, both the artists and the music, on the positive side that you're saying, of getting us out, of at least educating us, or maybe energizing us. Yeah. Depending on what artists are standing next to what issues, that may actually make somebody tune in and tap in and learn about it, or even get up off the couch and decide to go vote this year. But I'm curious, what do you see as a way hip-hop can ensure that this year, and those artists this year are using their voice and platform to make sure we don't disengage and make sure we stay engaged?
I think if you're a big brother to somebody or a big sister to somebody, introduce them to some good hip-hop. Sometimes you got to give somebody something and say, like, hey, let me turn you on to Tribe Called Quest. Let me turn you on to something different. Just so, you'll have that, in your playlist. And a lot of times we not introduced, not just hip hop. We got to go back to, Marvin Gaye. We got to go back to when it meant something. That music, soul music. When when that changed our whole community and how we thought and how we moved. And there's nothing wrong with, blessing your little brother or your son or something with like, I'm gonna give you the Marvin Gaye What's Going On album. So you can check out this, and it's going, I'm going to give you Bob Marley, the Legend album, and you listen to this, and I promise you it's going to touch your soul. And it's going, and what that does, like, that keeps the politics out of it. And I know, because it makes you start thinking about yourself. You know, I don't know what happened with politics, why they are the greatest liars in the world. But I will say this.
I can't argue that.
Start with yourself. Start with your own community. Fix you. Don't worry about what they saying. You know, because we all been promised something over and over again. It did not happen. So you know what? Invest in your own community. Invest in you.
Invest in you. Invest in you. And something you said there in terms of like putting people onto different types of hip hops and creating different waves. And we, like I said, we grew up in a time where there was so many different genres and so many different artists that were being promoted on the radio from different regions, and different energies. Like I said, different types of hip hop. So it was a flavor for everybody. But you've created a lot of waves and you've added to a lot of those sounds. Like you've been able to, I would say, create at least 2-3 different waves over the last 3 decades. But what's next? We just celebrated 50 years of hip hop. So I'm curious, what's next for what's next for Mannie Fresh? What's the next wave that you're on?
This is what it feels like to me. Go backwards.
Tell me more.
Because everything started from somewhere, and I think the reason why we love a lot of old school artists right now and they popping right now is because we miss the essence of hip hop. So I feel like I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to figure out like where it started. What was the ingredients, like the very beginning ingredients. So I kind of, to me, I want to go back to, you know, just the skills of it. You know, what was the skills, not the added preservatives, the fireworks, and all the special effects and all of that. Let's get back to the skills. And I thank God I'm still here, but I also know that the reason why I'm here is because I keep it real and it's my skills. You know, so if you want longevity in this, stop all of the tricks. You know what I'm saying?
No, I can attest. I done seen you DJ a few different parties where you just on straight turntables. Didn't even have to go into hip hop. Like you gone into that soul music and be able to turn a crowd up. So that skills. As we look to wrap up, but I know you got some stuff coming, and maybe in music wise, or maybe something you might be doing with technology or anything like that. I'm curious, what do you have? What's next up for Mannie Fresh?
I mean,
what can the people tap into?
I'm gonna always embrace technology, you know, because it's what, you know, we gotta be ready for it or whatever. But with me, it's a feeling when it's good, that's when I want to do it. When it's not, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to force myself to do anything. Like, you know, so I would be lying to you if I told you what was next, because sometimes I'll tell y'all, don't tell nobody though. Sometimes it's like if I'm doing a session with an artist like now, it hurt. Because it's just like, it don't feel good to me. So I'll just turn off the drum machine, unplug it, and be like, you know what, when God want me to come back, I'm gonna come back. I'm not gonna force myself to do something that it don't feel good. You know what I'm saying?
So we hope something feel good, because we need, I mean, we love the old Mannie Fresh music, but I've seen even during that time, during the pandemic, when you were DJing a lot online, I saw you experiment with a few different songs and dropping some unreleased stuff and doing different stuff there. So we want to hear that Mannie Fresh.
Well, the sweet thing about it is the world got DJ Mannie Fresh now. You know, y'all knew the producer, but you know, so I'm back to DJing, and that is my love. And DJing actually lets you fall in love with music again, because it's like being here. I get to learn new cultures and how people move and what songs make them move. And I actually see young people fall in love with old songs, you know, the way I might remix them. Well, you know, and they just like, oh man, what is that? What is that song? What is that? So that right there is a joy to me when it's just like, when it's a young crowd who like, I don't even know who he is, but by the time I'm done, when I'm finished, you like, I know who he is now. I know that dude.
Well, we all know this dude right here. So Denver, the Juneteenth Festival, can we give a large round of applause for a hip-hop icon and legend.
Thank y'all, Denver.
DJ, producer, artist, Mr. Mannie Fresh.
Thank y'all.
And make sure you come check him out tonight.
Hip politics, baby.